Well, things are going so bad for Donald Trump that even the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch say he's terrible for business, including his administration. And they have come out and done a stinging rebuke and attack in the pages of the Wall Street Journal of Donald Trump's idea to use a sovereign wealth fund, to create a U.S. sovereign wealth fund, to use public dollars to benefit Donald Trump's private friends and donors and allies. That's a recipe for corruption. That's one that the Wall Street Journal can't stand by, and they're calling for Congress to kill it. Kill it. Don't allow it to even get started, because all it's going to do is line the pockets of people close to Donald Trump and use it to invest in private companies like TikTok, which Donald Trump said was the very reason, the very rationale for setting up the sovereign wealth fund, using our public dollars to bail out a Chinese company. I can't even believe I'm talking about an American president, but I am on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Let's dive in. What is a sovereign wealth fund? Well, countries that have one have a surplus. They run a surplus, meaning they bring in more money than they spend in the government. We don't have that. We have a deficit, almost $2 trillion yearly deficit, and getting worse. Tens of trillions of dollars of debt. We're not like Saudi Arabia with oil reserves and China with trade balance issues that allow them to have a lot more money in their bank account on the balance sheet than they do have to spend. And so they can set up a sovereign wealth fund to invest in private companies if they want to. Norway can do it. We can't do it. The only reason we want to do it is because we're being run by a failed business person and other failed business people that surround him. And they want to be bailed out by the government and our taxpayer dollars. This is private business's wet dream. They get direct access to a fund controlled by Donald Trump instead of having to go through Congress to get an allocation. Look, Congress already allocates trillions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars to private sector. There is already a huge public-private partnership in America, because we as a government spend on research and development, roads and bridges and tunnels and construction projects and education and the rest. That's where the $4 or $5 trillion a year of funding goes, primarily a lot of it into private hands. But of course, you got to apply, you got to get grants, you got to get funding, you got to know your local congressperson, and they don't want to do that, especially those closest to Donald Trump. So the Wall Street Journal, this is what they said in their article: sovereign wealth for politicians, all the reasons Trump's government investment fund is a very bad idea. And this was written by the editorial board, so the entirety of the Wall Street Journal, and they don't do anything on the editorial board without Rupert Murdoch and the Murdoch family's approval. So here's what they say about it. Why has no president done this before in U.S. history? One reason is that the U.S. perennially runs budget deficits projected at $1.9 trillion for the fiscal year, as opposed to countries that run a surplus. Such funds typically enrich a country's rulers and their friends, far more than citizens. You see where this is going? Foreign leaders use the funds to finance businesses and projects of political allies. Corruption is a constant temptation. Malaysia's version of a sovereign wealth fund channeled billions of dollars to support the lifestyles of the prime minister and his cronies. There's also no need for such a U.S. fund. The Wall Street Journal, I can't believe I'm saying Wall Street Journal after every line here, as opposed to Politico, the Midas Touch, Substack. I mean, this is the rock rib Republican right-wing Murdoch paper. There's also no need for such a U.S. fund, the editorial continues, since Congress already spends on roads and bridges and technology, research and development, and all the other uses that Trump uses for its justification. The biggest danger to have such a fund is that it'll be used to invest in private companies. Danger? Donald Trump's already come out and said he's going to invest in private companies. We've already crossed that Rubicon. He wants to use it, your money, my money, public dollars, to invest in private companies, like buying out China's interest in TikTok. Politicians would love a separate vehicle to direct capital without having to go through Congress. See, Donald Trump has avoided Congress so far. Let's be frank. All of these crazy executive orders that he's passed, or that he signed, 20, 30 of them, they're all tied up in lawsuits now with temporary restraining orders and injunctions for sure. But all of those, not one of them was an attempt to go through Congress for legislation, because he knows Congress can't get anything done. House has to originate everything related to spending. They're going to have to originate everything concerning and approve everything about the sovereign wealth fund. And they've got like a 3-seat lead, which is quickly evaporating. So he's going to use public money. And here's what I have to say to those that are in the Trump administration, like Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and others. Take your mitts off my public money. You want to go raise money in the private sector with your home offices and family offices and your investment vehicles, then stay out of the government and go raise money and go get it from qualified investors who have the money to lose and put it into whatever you want to put it into. That's your right, subject to regulation. That's your right. Get off of my public money. It's not for your investment unless there's a public-private partnership funding that's approved by Congress. That's how this works in the United States of America. Then they quote Howard Lutnick of the Commerce Secretary nominated. They said, if we're going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should invest in the companies that make them. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe that's not the role of the federal government to invest in private industry. We got our own role on how to keep the economy humming. You think these are reasonably successful people. You'd think they'd understand by now how the American economy works, what makes it hum, and the role of the federal government in it, from monetary policy, fiscal policy, the Treasury, securities and other regulation, and then giving out paychecks and funding to American people as a social safety net, and stepping in when necessary when the economy stalls, like during COVID. Seriously, you think these people, I don't even know. I can't even criticize them any longer. I don't know where they're coming from. This is what the Wall Street Journal continues to say. But with ownership comes political control. A sovereign wealth fund would give President Trump and future presidents more leverage to bully businesses. That's what pension funds do, who take in money, billions and billions of dollars from colleges, from unions and things like that. They bully the crap out of the businesses. And you can see Donald Trump trying to do the exact same thing. The French government's stake in Renault, a car manufacturer they use as an example, has made it harder to cut jobs and close factories, so the auto maker could become more competitive. If the Fed owns 10% of Pfizer, do you think Mr. Lutnick would soon be telling the company what it can charge on drugs? It's no coincidence that Mr. Trump's floated the sovereign wealth fund idea after the Biden administration did. In taking up this fund idea, Mr. Trump confuses sovereign wealth with the real wealth of nations. National wealth is created by ingenuity and risk-taking of its citizens. They build new companies and make new discoveries. Here, that's the Wall Street Journal, I know. That's how America became rich. It became an economy worth trillions. Government doesn't create wealth, and a sovereign wealth fund would merely be one more way for the government to commandeer private wealth for political purposes. It will destroy more wealth than it creates. It will destroy more wealth than it creates. Donald Trump, the destroyer of wealth, according to the Wall Street Journal. I'm Michael Popok. I'm glad you're here on Legal AF. We're doing great things here with your help. 6 to 10 videos a day at the intersection of law and politics, and sometimes financial markets. Follow us, hit the free subscribe button. Till my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.